happy honeymoon ends in horror.
That had almost that impact sound of when you have a car accident, then the next thing I was under the water.
In Africa, babies are under attack.
And my biggest fear was just that he would bite her in the neck and kill her.
An Arctic monster is out for blood.
I think he was angry and he just threw me to the ground.
And a silent stalker feeds on human flesh.
I did not cry. I knew that if I made a sound, we would all be taken.
What triggered the killer instinct in these animals? And can they be stopped? Newlyweds Bruce and Janice Simpson are celebrating their honeymoon in one of the most beautiful places on Earth. Botswana's Okavango Delta. They want a real wildlife experience, and the best way to do that is by taking a ride on a Mokoro, a small canoe that can get them close to the action. Wildlife is everywhere, and it seems the tour is a success. But on their way back to camp, something massive gets in their way.
So we stopped and we waited for them for a while. And in fact, the guide banged his pole on the Mokoro a few times to try and make some noise, try and get them to move off.
But the elephants don't budge. So the Simpsons look for another route.
And we were looking for another channel to basically cut across this waterway to get back to the camp.
The new path is barely wide enough to squeeze through. Then, something explodes out of the water.
All I saw as I turned was a grey mass to my right, literally half a meter away from me.
Adult hippos can weigh more than 2,500 kilos and can run faster than humans. And they are far from friendly. Monstrous males battle each other relentlessly for dominance among the herd.
Basically, the girth of its chest was as wide as the section that Jan and I were sitting one behind the other. So it had almost that impact sound of when you have a car accident. And then the next thing I was under the water. I couldn't see anything.
Bruce flails for the surface, but something is holding him underwater. Across the globe, Nina Ollison and Sarah Burke are on an adventure in Spitsbergen, part of the Svalbard island chain. It's the northernmost human settlement on Earth, just 800 kilometers from the North Pole. On the itinerary for today, a hike to the top of a plateau, just outside the town of Longyearbyen.
So, I think that maybe we should turn around now. Do you want to head back?
Oh no, come on, let's walk a little bit.
As the girls head across the plateau, they see one of Santa's little helpers grazing nearby.
Oh look, there's a reindeer.
But Sarah and Nina aren't the only ones eyeing the furry beast.
Don't tell me that's a bear. That is a bear.
Just 50 paces away is a half-ton killing machine shrouded in white. When fully grown, polar bears tower 3.5 meters and wield deadly 5-centimeter claws. They rarely attack humans. But for some reason, this bear seems more interested in the girls than the reindeer.
We have to get out of here.
Sarah is mesmerized by the bear.
Don't look at it!
On Spitsbergen, polar bears outnumber humans 2 to 1. That's why most people take a gun with them when venturing into the wild, because a single warning shot usually drives predators away. But Sarah and Nina are unarmed. They do know something about bears and start shouting, hoping to scare it away. But it's not working. They're trapped between the bear and the edge of the plateau. And since Svalbard has no trees, no fallen branches are around to use as weapons, they are completely defenseless. The bear strikes Nina, and she crumples to the ground. Then it turns towards Sarah. Caught between a 1,000-foot drop and an animal driven to dominate, she has only one choice. It's a hot June morning in South Africa's northern province. Letty Tukana is out walking with a 3-month-old baby girl, Neo.
At around 10 o'clock, I went to the bedroom to breastfeed Neo.
Neo.
An hour later, Letty cleans up as her baby sleeps quietly nearby.
I was busy washing dishes when I heard the baby in the bedroom screaming. I thought the baby was screaming because it was hungry and wanted to be fed again.
But as Letty soon discovers, her baby isn't the hungry one. Little Neo is in the arms of a wild baboon. South Africa's Chakma baboons are the largest of the species, and to make matters worse, the one attacking her child is a male. Adult males can weigh almost 45 kilos. They can also distinguish between human males and females. If the male baboon facing Letty views her as a lower-ranking female, he has no reason to fear her, and no reason to release her child. Will her screams be enough for the baboon to opt for a meal other than her little girl? Bruce and Janice Simpson were having a relaxing honeymoon until it went haywire at the jaws of an aggressive hippo. In Africa, these monstrous mammals attack and kill more humans than any other animal. But usually they're grazers that only eat meat when food is scarce. Just 1 week later, another cantankerous creature rocks the Okavango. Former Miss South Africa, Diana Tilden Davis, is in the Delta filming a documentary. She spent years working here as a guide and considers these waters her home. The crew needs one more shot before they wrap for the day. And that's all the director's thinking about as he pilots the boat. He has no idea what's lurking in the placid waters. Then, without warning, a lone hippo charges. Adrenaline surges through Diana. She strikes the beast with her pole and screams for the crew to scatter. The hippo rams her boat. Diana is tossed. Then it lunges even closer. gnashing its tusks inches from her flesh. She's putting up a good fight, but against a 2-ton animal, even her best fight may not be good enough. Tanzania, a late August afternoon. Amir and his mother Pili Lagaza prepare their evening meal near the Rufiji River. Just after sundown, Amir goes to bed.
I went inside so I can go to sleep. She was still graining the corn outside. She finished at around 10 or 11 p.m. Then she went to the toilet outside.
A hungry creature has picked up Pili's scent. At dawn, Amir immediately knows something's wrong.
I was wondering where my mother was, so I decided to walk around our house. I saw bloodstains. My heart started pounding after seeing the bloodstains, but I did not lose hope. Then I saw a dress that my mother had on the night before. It was torn and had blood all over it.
The trail of blood ends in horror.
Then I saw the skull. Everything had been taken from the skull, even the eyes.
It's all that remains of his mother. While Pili Lagaza's death was tragic, it wasn't unusual. About 200 people are killed by wild animals in Tanzania every year. Just 2 months later, an 18-year-old named Musa Matupa disappears. The next day, his skull is found. Like Pili, it's the only piece left behind. 3 days later, there is a third victim. And the villagers begin to worry. Something is stalking humans as prey. Local rangers search for the perpetrator. The tracks leading away from the scene confirm their worst fears. Their man-eater is a master of the African plains. A 1.8-meter long, 220-kilo African lion. Humans aren't usually on their menu. But once the cats acquire a taste for human flesh, there's only one way to end the killing. The big cat must be destroyed. Local officers call for reinforcements, and the government sends in a team of rangers led by Haji Makanguru. They hunt day and night, but the lion is elusive.
Once it kills in Garango, the next thing you know it is in Manyara. Once it kills there, it moves on.
The man-eater of Rufiji seems unstoppable. Unless he's brought down soon, many more may fall victim. The remote Arctic island of Spitsbergen is home to one of nature's most deadly killers. And for some reason, one of them is attacking Nina Ollison and Sarah Burke. Months later, just across the island, another polar bear draws blood. Helma Christiansen leads a small group of nature seekers on tour. After they reach the shore, Helma and his good friend Ola Vickman go for a hike up into the foothills.
I know Helmer because I met him year before. He was so fond of the Svalbard, the nature, the animals, above all the polar bears.
Something is moving on the hillside. But Helmer isn't worried. Not yet.
We saw a polar bear behind the rock. Lift his head and have a look at us.
Normally, a bear would give humans a passing glance and move on. But something's bothering this one. Polar bears communicate with each other using sounds. Their roars warn intruders to back off or prepare for battle. When a polar bear opens and closes its mouth quickly, it's called chuffing, another warning sign to retreat. If it lowers its head, an attack is imminent. Helmer recognizes the warning signs and knows they're in trouble. But unlike Sarah and Nina, Helmer has brought a gun and hopes a warning shot will scare the bear away. It has the opposite effect. Helmer fires more shots, but he only has a small caliber pistol, and the bullets only irritate the bear. A second later, Helmer is fighting for his life. Altler screams for him to pull his knife, but there's no response. He grabs the pistol, but he's never fired it before.
I didn't know how to use it. It took a while before I could fire a shot.
Finally, Ola fires several bullets into the bear, but they only make him angrier. The beast turns and charges him.
I think he was angry and attacked me and just threw me to the ground. I was lying there on the ground. I thought that in my last minute, he would probably kill me.
A male baboon sneaks in and grabs Letty Tukana's 3-month-old baby girl, Neo. She screams. But the baboon just stares, as if mocking her. She has no choice but to run to her neighbor for help.
I was busy milking the cow. I heard Letty screaming for help. She was screaming, "Oh my child, oh my child." I threw down everything I was holding.
Raymond and Letty race to scare off the baboon. The tactic works, but the primate only reluctantly moves away from the scene. Letty quickly discovers that Neo has suffered a nasty bite to the head. She's alive, but bleeding profusely. When a new alpha male takes over a baboon troop, he'll often kill the offspring of his rivals with a single bite to the head. Raymond rushes to get help, but the closest doctor is miles away. Letty cradles her daughter as her young life quietly slips away. Hundreds of kilometers away in South Africa's Cape Peninsula, another baboon attacks. Christina Kotze just finished a short hike with friends on picturesque Cape Point.
It was a clear day, beautiful views, no clouds, no rain. Perfect day for a Cape Point outing. We walked up to the car and opened 3 of the car doors. They were standing next to the car, taking off their jackets, and I was putting my baby into her car seat.
Out of nowhere, a baboon leaps into her car, inches from a baby.
I obviously had to bend down into the car to fasten her buckle. The next moment I looked up and I saw a male baboon sitting next to her on the car seat. He was definitely bigger than I am. And he had huge fangs about this size. And that's what you see. You just see fangs, teeth.
Male baboons are armed with razor-sharp canines. They're used for self-defense and for fighting rival males in constant bloody battles. Winners get the pick of mates. Losers get the leftovers. Now Christine is face to face with one in her car.
My first reaction was just to try and get my child out of the car. I realized that was not possible as she was first of all secured by her seatbelt and her baby seat was secured by the car seat belt, so it was impossible to just yank her out of the seat. And my biggest fear was just that he would, basically bite her in the neck and kill her.
An African paradise is about to become hell on earth. 2 tons of hippo is targeting newlyweds Bruce and Janice Simpson. Their canoe is capsized. The impact dislocates Bruce's shoulder and traps him beneath the surface.
The force of it pushed me right down into the mud. I knew the water was only just above my head. I was at risk of drowning.
But Bruce isn't giving up that easily.
The first thing, I looked for my wife. I couldn't see her. She wasn't there. The Makoro wasn't there. She was nowhere to be seen.
His heart hammers in his chest as he searches frantically for his new bride. What he finds chills him to the core.
I rushed over and I turned her over. And she had been bitten through the chest, in the front and through the back. And she was just losing blood so quickly.
Jan's body was ravaged by 2 pairs of deadly tusks. They grow continuously, and they're perfectly placed to sharpen with every bite. But these sabers aren't used for eating. They're for fighting other hippos. Battles between competing males are long, bloody, and often end in death. South Africa's Kruger National Park. Danny Meany, his wife Anneke and their niece are enjoying a weekend getaway of hiking and wildlife.
And we asked one of the workers there for the best place to go and view the area, and he showed us the dam. The minute we reached at that point, we did see the hippo inside the dam.
A kilometer from the river, a lone hippo wades in the water.
Our reaction was, what a beautiful animal. We didn't realize what's the danger of the animal.
Danny heads off to catch up with the rest of their family. But moments later,
and she said, no, the hippo did bite Aniki.
Danny races to his wife.
I've called her and said, Aniki, where are you?
Seconds later, he finds her with life-threatening wounds.
I see her, and she said, just bear in mind that I love you.
She dies in his arms. Just like the hippo attacks on The Simpsons and Diana Tilden Davis, a lone hippo was the perpetrator. These animals usually live in herds, but something drove them away from their group. Aniki left a clue why she was attacked. Investigators review the tape, and first, normal hippo behavior. But then a young calf appears. Aniki's killer was a new mother and a force to be feared. Few predators dare to take on an adult hippo, but calves are fair game. Lions, hyenas, even pythons will feed on these young hippos. Mothers fiercely defend their offspring, attacking any potential foe, even humans. She's pinned beneath enormous claws. Next, he stares at Sarah, baiting her to make a move. She's trapped between the deadly polar bear and a 300-meter drop, littered with jagged rocks. With no other way to help her friend, Sarah does the unthinkable. But fate grants her a gift. She walks away with nothing more than a broken wrist. In shock, she stumbles back to town and alerts the police. Aina Moster was on the first response team.
She was hysteric in the phone, but her friend was attacked by Isbjørn. It was, of course, we had to do immediately what we could.
They find the bear, not far from Nina's lifeless body, and take him down. But Sarah's darkest fears are confirmed.
It was kind of, there was a false hope all the time.
No, she wasn't alive. She had died sometimes, some minutes ago, I don't know.
Investigators look for a motive and learn that right before the bear charged, a huge plane flew overhead, the C-130 Hercules. Bears are known to dislike loud noises, and the C-130's engines rocked the plateau. And the bear attack on Ola Vickman and Helmer Christiansen seemed to be triggered by a gunshot. But is a loud noise enough to send a bear on a death charge? A man-eating lion is on the loose in Africa, having already killed 42 people. Locals call the cat a spirit lion, an evil beast invisible to human eyes. Ranger Haji Makanguru needs a special kind of power to triumph over this enemy. So a team of local bush doctors performs rituals, hoping to defeat the lion's deadly magic. The next day, Fatuma Magela travels to visit her mother and father in the neighboring village of Kippo. Fatuma is in mourning. 15 months ago, she witnessed a badly scarred lion kill and eat her husband. Over dinner, they discussed the lion's latest attacks.
After supper, we talked for a while. Then we went to sleep.
Silently, the man-eater of Rufiji leaps up their 3-meter wall and dives through the roof.
We were in a deep sleep. Then I heard my mother screaming. My father was attacked when he tried to rescue my mother. When the lion saw that my father was fighting, it grabbed him by the throat and killed him. I did not cry. I knew that if I made a sound, we would all be taken.
Fatuma recognizes the beast. It's the same lion that killed her husband. Within seconds, her parents meet the same gruesome end. The man-eater of Rufiji has now killed 47 people. The locals trying to survive this threat flee across the river. Lions don't typically like to swim, but are perfectly willing to do so when there's food at stake. Days later, 2 elderly women become victims 48 and 49. Once again, Ranger Haji Makanguru is called to the scene. This time the trail is fresh. And before long, a mob of bloodthirsty locals joins the hunt. They beat a trail along the river, driving the lion towards the ranger. Haji is now the predator. In Botswana, Diana Tilden Davis struggles to stay alive. A ferocious hippo is attacking her crew, charging the boat again and again, and causing Diana to slide into striking distance. The animal lunges and snaps its huge teeth through Diana's calf. Then, a flare gunshot distracts the creature, and Diana scrambles to safety. Janice Simpson isn't so lucky. On her honeymoon, she suffers a dreadful hippo attack, and her body is left with devastating puncture wounds.
She had been bitten through the chest. She'd been bitten in the head, and she was just losing blood so quickly.
2 hippo attacks just days apart in the same African paradise. Something triggered this devastating rage. Why were both of these herd animals alone?
He was definitely trying to hide. Because he was quite big and it was quite shallow, he had made a little sort of wallow in the sand to get completely under the water.
The hippo must have been submerged and crouching in the water. So the water couldn't have been deeper than a couple more feet where the hippo was hiding. There's no ways it could have been there unless it was crouching.
Diana remembers another gruesome detail.
When he came for us, his mouth was open. Lots of cuts and gashes in his mouth. His ear had been chewed on and his face was all scarred and open. They were all fresh wounds.
Only another hippo could have inflicted this type of punishment. It's been relatively dry in the Okavango this season, forcing the hippos into close quarters.
I couldn't even begin to count them. It was one of the things that staggered me was the density of the hippo population.
Higher concentrations trigger more fighting, and more fighting means more hippos on edge, ready to strike. Diana spent 2 years in rehab, but she doesn't hold a grudge.
I've seen the hippo twice since the incident. He was going through just as a traumatic time as I've been through. So our bond, I think, has grown from that.
Bruce Simpson hopes to return to the hippos one day.
One of my goals is to be able to go back and get as much pleasure as I did before out of spending time watching hippos and photographing them. In many respects, I feel like I have a link with them now.
A polar bear threatens the lives of Ola Vickman and Helmer Christiansen.
Helmer was already dead. I couldn't do anything for him.
Bleeding profusely and in shock, Ola staggers towards the boat, hoping the bear doesn't come back for more. He makes it back to town, and the police move in to retrieve Helmer's body. The bear is waiting, but it's no match for a high-powered rifle. Investigators search for clues as to why 2 bears attacked, seemingly unprovoked. Both were young, aggressive males. But another cause may be contributing to the attacks. Pollutants, including PCBs and pesticides like DDT, circulate through the atmosphere until they arrive near the North Pole. Here, temperatures are too cold for the compounds to remain as vapors, so they condense and then drop into Arctic seas. The result is every living organism is eating contaminated food. These poisons have been known to mimic hormones, and the results can be devastating during adolescence. Inexperienced, chemically unbalanced male bears could attack anything, at any time. A male baboon has just killed Letty Tukana's 3-month-old daughter, Neo. Authorities are concerned the baboon will return, so they send marksmen to the village of Madipalesa. They search the area, but find no sign of him. Then 4 days later, he strikes again.
The baboon was found inside the compound. It had killed one of the goats. The owner of the cattle post saw the baboon running away with the hind quarter of a goat dripping with blood.
Again, the baboon is alone. And again, he escapes. Maybe the creature wasn't looking for a baby and confused Neo's cries with the bleating of a goat. Seven days later, rangers take down the dangerous baboon. He's old and missing teeth. This animal was probably an outcast, cut off from his troop and forced to fend for himself. Further south at Cape Point, another aggressive male baboon threatens Christine Coetzee's baby girl.
My biggest fear was just that he would, basically bite her in the neck and kill her. He then must have noticed the small backpack lying on the seat next to him, and he took the backpack and ran across the road. He literally unpacked everything and noticed that there was no food in it, and then discarded the backpack.
But this primate refuses to leave empty-handed.
I saw the baboon coming back to the car. I then closed the car door because what I wanted to prevent most of all was the baboon getting back into the car with my child. And I was basically standing with my back against the car door, and he was sitting in front of me. I didn't know whether to look at him or to not look at him. I didn't know whether I should back away, and the next moment the baboon ran up to me and bit into my lower arm. And as I whipped around, he sort of fell off. He grabbed hold of my other arm, and as soon as I got him off, I just ran for my door and got into the car as quickly as possible.
The troop of baboons on Cape Point is constantly fed by tourists, which makes them aggressive. Other troops on the peninsula invade neighborhoods. In a matter of minutes, homes are completely ransacked by these hungry primates. They're protected on the peninsula, but in the rest of the country, these monkeys are considered vermin. Ranger Haji Mukunguru has a man-eating lion in his sights. The marks on the lion's neck leave no doubt. This is the one who killed nearly 50 people.
The lion was brought around to all the villages to show people the lion was dead. Then the lion was taken back to the area where it was killed. After skinning the lion and removing the bones, the villagers cut the meat and ate it as a sign of revenge.
One of the largest cases of man-eating is finally over. But what turned this lion onto the taste of human flesh? His remains tell the story. The cat's left canine tooth is normal, perfectly vertical, but his right canine is damaged, broken, and tilted forwards. A big cat's teeth are his most prized possessions, but they're vulnerable weapons. The hooves of twisting zebra and buffalo can shatter teeth and jaws. And broken teeth are incredibly sensitive. Any pressure would cause the lion serious pain. Breaks also allow bacteria into the blood, which creates infection. So in the end, the man-eater of Rufiji adopted a less painful diet. Whether they're hungry, startled, or confused, nature's beasts can quickly become killers. We call them wild animals for a reason. Unfortunately, some of us learned this lesson the hard way.